12, take the check that one out.
6-1 bullet, 2-1 started, you shot us.
Officer still stands for time? No.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Everybody's 21, right? 21. Happy birthday. Good morning, everybody. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Good morning. Friday morning. Of course, we got breaking news to get into. We'll go ahead and say good morning to everybody. Do you like the kind of thing I did a little different with the background? Is that green and yellow? Good morning. Got one that's kind of different, too. What's up, Kimberly Ann? Scarlett, number 3. What's up, Caddy? Good morning, number 4. Chicken number 4. Kib Kitty. Scarlett. Sarah Sweetness. To my favorite goo. Detective Golden. I hit the thumbs up. What's up, Miley? YouTube keeps... Who knows? What's up, Devil Dog? Who knows? Even Harsh even said it in his video yesterday. Just who knows? Unsub, sub back. Not sure. What's up, Unravel? Good morning. Katrina Miller. What's up? What's up? There's Caddy. Happy birthday. If you like the music, definitely go sub and follow over there on YouTube and Twitter. Let's see here. Party of 5. Good morning. DS. Hope you're enjoying your day, Devil Dog. Or is it's evening now, no? Or wait. No, it's like late afternoon, Devil Dog. Storm Dancer. What's up? What's up? Crystal, good morning. Skittles. Prayers. We love you too, Skittles. We love you too. Thank you for coming to hang out. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Yeah, happy birthday, happy birthday. What's up, Cherry Cherry? Let me see here. Cherry. What's up, Root? Commercial Zone. Yoli? I don't know if we'll be able to show it or not. She sent me a link, so I can share the link, but I don't know if I'll be able to play it or not. I was looking at the rules and stuff. Eesh, I don't know. What's up, Grizz? But I can give you guys the link. So if it is live streamed, can you imagine watching Yoli in action? Oh shit! Shout out Yoli. So we'll see if it's available. I checked this morning, but it's way too early. That's Pacific time, so it probably won't even be until... Probably at earliest an hour or two, I would imagine. What's up, Anna? Good to see you. So we got some breaking news. Oh boy. And one of them is for parents with children that might vape. You'll want to listen to this one. All right, here we go. Breaking news.
Morning here happening now. Police looking for the person involved in a deadly shooting on the city's west side. This happening behind a laundromat on Culebra Road, not far from I-10.
A man was found dead, but the weapon used wasn't found. Sarah Duran is following this story. Sarah, have they
Good morning,
ID'd
everybody.
the victim yet?
Barry, so I called the medical examiner within the last 30 minutes and they still did not have an identity for the victim. All we know this morning is that they are a 29-year-old man. Now, he was found by police last night with a gunshot wound to his head. That was about 8:30 on the west side. Police at this time, though, are still trying to figure out if he shot himself or if someone shot him. Now, the reason for that is because investigators did not find the gun at the laundromat on Culebra Road. Now, right now, Barry, police are combing through surveillance video collected at that laundromat, and they're hoping that will help them better understand what exactly happened here last night and possibly identify a potential suspect. Again, at this time, there has been nobody identified as a person of interest in this case, but we are still working to learn more about what happened here last night. And of course, we'll keep you updated as we learn more. But for now, we're live this morning. Sarah Duran, Pins 5.
A danger disguised as school supplies. The Food and Drug Administration is warning parents about vapes that look like highlighters and other items that young people use regularly.
Yeah, some Hampton Roads School Division administrators tell 13 News Now they're constantly looking for the latest e-cigarette trends. Allison Basil found out how school staff and vape shop owners at the 757 work to keep those devices out of the hands of teens.
Highlighters come in many fluorescent colors, and now some could cause harm to students. Videos on the social media platform TikTok show vape pens disguised as highlighters. HighlighterVape.com sells various colored vapes that look like the office tool. The FDA posted photos of the dupes online, warning parents to look out for the devices and is cracking down on retail.
Damn, they even have a fucking Game Boy? Oh, shit, what? Look at this. They even have a Game Boy. What?
Photos of the dupes online.
They have a Game Boy. You could have a Game Boy vape. What the hell? A Game Boy? That's crazy. You just be like, what the hell? That's
warning parents to look out for the devices and is cracking down on retailers selling them. They also show other vapes that look like child toys.
I think all of it is alarming.
Dr. Samantha Dutta, a pulmonologist with Centera, says more young people are getting their hands on vapes.
And, the recent studies have shown that 1 in 5 high schoolers and 1 in 20 middle schoolers have used some form of e-cigarette in the past 30 days. So, which is huge.
He says some people put unregulated chemicals in the devices, which can cause severe lung damage.
We just don't have too much studies as of yet on what is the effect, what is the talk.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys real quick, the parents out there, always trying to keep the parents. Man, what the hell is that?
This is what Ricky Kelly looks like after nearly 8.5 years behind bars. He's out of prison now after completing his sentence for manslaughter.
Welcome to Wave News at 6. I'm John Bull.
And I'm Myra Ansari. Kelly was suspected in 8 murders, but key witnesses against him could never testify.
That's because they kept getting killed, leaving their cases at dead ends. Wave News reporter Mark Stevens explains why Kelly served less than a 10-year sentence.
Kelly took a plea deal in 2017 for manslaughter. It came with a 10-year sentence. He served a little less than 8.5 years, all he was required to by law.
Nobody had the right to take my son's life. I don't care what he was involved in.
The pain that followed Ricky Kelly was obvious. Indicted for 8 murders, only one case would lead to prison. Witness
indicted for 8?
Police he saw Kelly shoot Levante Jackson. Sawyers was set to testify in a federal murder trial, but wound up dead himself after coming back to Louisville instead of staying out of state and witness protection. Former Commonwealth Attorney Tom Wine described Sawyer's poor choice.
And he came back to Kentucky.
And this dude's getting let go? Whoa, hold on. He was indicted on 8, only got charged for 1. Then a witness was coming back without witness protection and they wound up dead? And they're letting this guy go?
Would lead to prison. Witness Gregory Sawyers told police he saw Kelly.
Where is this at? Louisville? People in Louisville. So, hold on, I got to put Louisville. People in Louisville. Watch out. Holy shit.
Levante Jackson. Sawyers was set to testify in a federal murder trial, but wound up dead himself after coming back to Louisville instead of staying out of state and witness protection. Former Commonwealth Attorney Tom Wine described Sawyer's poor choice.
And he came back to Kentucky. Not just to Kentucky, not just to Louisville, but to the very street corner where he had done his business before, and he was an easy mark, and he was killed.
What?
Would agree to plead to a lesser charge, manslaughter, and was sentenced to a decade in prison. Prosecutor's office says years ago it was the best deal they could get to protect the public and get justice for his victim's family.
That was
Darlene
the
McNeely
best.
said it wasn't enough.
I don't know.
That was the best that they could. What? Hold on. What? That was the best they could.
He was killed.
Kelly would agree to plead to a lesser charge, manslaughter, and was sentenced to a decade in prison.
He pled to manslaughter. They could only get. He indicted on 8 and got a manslaughter out of 1? What the And then they said that they were trying the best they could do.
Prosecutor's office says years ago it was the best deal they could get to protect the public and get justice for his victim's family. Darlene McNeely said it wasn't enough.
I don't know what kind of person he is.
What's up, Lisa?
They could kill that many people and not have no sense of remorse.
Kelly has completed his sentence.
Aww.
Will not be under any
This poor mom.
Kelly is
It
now
will not
52.
be.
He was locked up in Kentucky.
Whoa, he won't be under any supervision either.
Kentucky's Eastern Correctional Complex in West Liberty, a 2.5-hour drive from Louisville. Mark Stevens, Wave News.
But wet roads aren't the.
What?
We are on the record now in Quaker County District Court.
Christian Glass's parents
What
have been
the
traveling to this very
hell?
room for about a year now. And today, for the first time, they heard what they consider a shred of good news.
At this point, we have a tentative resolution.
Kyle Gould, the former deputy acting as a supervisor the night their son was killed, appears ready to take a deal from prosecutors.
It's the first time that we've seen Gould take any responsibility for the murder of Christian.
A grand jury indictment alleges Gould, who wasn't at the scene that night, was watching the encounter with Christian through a live stream of body cameras, and that he eventually gave the order to break Glass's window, which led to the shooting. He was charged with criminally negligent homicide and reckless endangerment.
It does bring some comfort that this man, who wasn't even there at the time of Christian's murder, is accepting responsibility for his role in Christian's death. And that is important to remember.
The details of his deal should come at a hearing later this month. On the other side of the defense table, the man who pulled the trigger took a different approach.
We're going to enter a not guilty plea today and set the case for trial.
You hear that not guilty, and it's like, Jesus, are you kidding me?
Andrew Buin is accused of second-degree murder and other charges after he shot Glass 5 times in the chest. He was among the first deputies on scene to respond to Glass's call for help that night.
To do this to us and just prolong the agony is just more cruelty, which is the measure of the man. Inhumane, cruel.
Glass's family accused the former deputy of prolonging their grief, dragging them through
Wow.
what could be a lengthy trial after they've already been through 18 months of hell.
It's an ongoing process of us just trying to steel ourselves, get through this, and hope that justice will come soon.
Prosecutors told the judge today that they expect a trial for Buin to take up to 4 weeks, anticipating jury selection will be difficult because of all the notoriety on this case. Buin's attorney today indicated that she intends to file a motion to try to get the case moved to another jurisdiction. The hearing on that is set for mid-December.
I can imagine, but was there any reason given as to the idea of moving that case to another jurisdiction?
You know, I think the thought is how much attention this case has gotten. The thought is they probably want a fresh set of eyes somewhere else. It's going to be a lengthy argument, though. The judge has set a 2-day hearing for just that issue alone.
All right, Steve, thanks.
Wow.
And to honor the victims, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, and Kaylee Gonsalves, a student-led vigil will be held on November 13th. On the
Jesse Yoli is actually getting ready to, she's in court. She's been in court, so she'll probably be gone for, I don't know, I think she said about 2 weeks. I'll have to message her. She messaged me yesterday. She sent me a link. It might be live, so we might be checking it out. You'll have to ask another lawyer, my friend. She'll be taking a couple-week break while she's in court. She's got a trial she's doing. Shout out, Yoli. Appreciate you.
The administration lawn at U of I. Exactly 1 year since
Send
they
some
were murdered
positive
in their
energy.
off-campus
Hey,
home.
by the way, everybody,
One of the
for
students
real, send some positive energy to Yoli. I know she's not going to need it because she's, you know what I'm saying? She's on fire right now. So I wouldn't even want to be in her path in that courtroom. I'm telling you that right now. But definitely send some positive energy in Yoli. We appreciate you. Thank you for the links too yesterday. Appreciate you.
in charge of planning the event says we want to ensure we continue to tell their stories, to honor their legacies, and to provide a place where each student can heal.
Shout out
Together,
Yoli.
we are moving forward.
To our other top story tonight, new insight into a shootout at a house party on the west side that claimed 2 lives.
And tonight, the family sharing these photos of Marvin Medrano and Jennifer Collin. 3 other people, including Medrano's 13-year-old daughter, were shot. Now, police say it happened off Roslyn Avenue Saturday night when an argument broke out.
20-year-old Raul Trevino is facing capital murder
rock that
charges
case,
in
girl.
connection with the
Rock that
shooting.
case.
He remains in the Bexar County Jail tonight. KENS 5 reporter Megan Reyna joins us after speaking with a family member who was at that party that night. Megan?
Well, EC's Henry, that family member, wants to remain anonymous out of safety concerns, but claims the argument that led to the shooting stemmed from a feud between 2 teenage girls, and now one of those girls is left without a father and aunt.
It just happened so fast. I was standing right there, right next to Marvin.
A senseless tragedy struck Saturday night at a house party on the west side. In this ring video shared by a neighbor off Roslyn Avenue, you can hear several gunshots. 5 people were struck by bullets. Marvin Medrano and Jennifer Collin died of their injuries.
It should have never happened that way.
The family member who witnessed the entire incident unfold says Medrano's 13-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old neighbor weren't getting along prior to Saturday. She says that night the 15-year-old's family member showed up and started arguing with them.
It's just escalated, and the brother of the 15-year-old started shooting while there was kids there.
Police say guns were drawn by members of both families. Investigators arrested 20-year-old Raul Trevino, who was also shot. He's now facing capital murder charges.
He was left by somebody. He was a good person, and he didn't deserve this. Neither of them did.
She says Marvin was a devoted father and manager at HEB for more than 15 years. She adds Jennifer was a loving aunt who was always there for everyone.
They were always happy, good people.
Uh-oh, she's on mute.
Year-old was shot twice, but is doing better and should make a full recovery.
Wow. Well, that's the breaking news from overnight and this morning. People acting stupid, right? Shaking my head damn straight. Yeah, rock that shit, Yoli. We know she has this. We know. We know. She's ready. She's ready. I can't wait. Hopefully we'll be able to see it. I don't think we'll be able to stream it because I think you have to get some written permission first or something, I think. But I'm going to message her real quick if it ain't started yet. It might be the afternoon, but she'll only respond if she is able. Yeah, shout out Yoli. Man, I wish we could, like, what's up, JC? This is what I was telling her before the last few days when she was on, before she had to really, really get ready. Because I was telling her, I was like, man, I wish we could just, like, how like other people live stream the cases, like, this, what's that, the eye drop trial or some shit, whatever that's called, I was like, Yoli, it would be so badass. So badass. But I'm going to make sure that I can share the link with you guys. She gave me the link yesterday for the courthouse and the live stream, if it's available, if they're going to live stream it. But I just want to make sure I can share it. I'm sure you could look it up, but just make sure I get the permission from her. Yes. Shout out Yoli. Oh my gosh. Wasn't she on fire the last couple days, everybody? The last couple shows, she was on fire, wasn't she? She's like, CJ, I warned you. I'm argumentative as hell. I'm telling you, I'm ready for trial. I said, I know. I love it. All right. That was it for the breaking news. Now I got something to read for you guys here when it comes to this Idaho4 stuff. Share an article with you. I thought it was kind of interesting. And thank you all for hopping in. All right. So, here's an article. It's called, okay, I accepted. Will you remove this? Thank you. It's called Interpreting DNA Profiles. Interpreting complex DNA profiles can pose many challenges and introduce interpretation errors. A study conducted by Taylor explored the impact of DNA mixture interpretation and the accuracy of the interpretation. DNA samples that are considered mixtures include DNA from multiple contributors, such as in cases of R. Such mixtures can be complicated to analyze and require specialized techniques and training to interpret these results. The ability to determine the contributors of each individual in a DNA mixture sample accurately remains a challenge, and its impact can be detrimental to case results while also impacting the reliability of DNA evidence in court. Contamination and sample degradation. A significant factor affecting the accuracy and trustworthiness of DNA evidence is its high potential to be contaminated, such as during the collection, the handling, and processing of the samples. Hello, what does Ann Taylor want? That information. The collection, the handling, the processing, the chain of custody. To minimize the risk of contamination, personnel involved in the investigation and handling of the DNA samples need to adhere to rigorous protocols, complete proper training, and adhere to strict chain of custody procedures. To minimize risk of contamination, personnel involved in the investigation and handling of the DNA samples need to adhere to the rigorous protocols, complete proper training, and adhere to strict chain of custody procedures. Chain of custody procedures. Contamination can occur in many forms, not only from individuals handling the samples, but also from external sources. For example, crime scenes that are outdoors are exposed to nature, casual individuals, and the weather, possibly contaminating DNA evidence prior to crime investigators being able to preserve and collect the samples. Mark Carver. Due to exposure to environmental conditions, a study by Dutta emphasized the importance of assessing the degradation degree of DNA samples collected before analysis. Now, I'm going to get into another interesting part of this article here. Yes, Yoli Yoli. Oh, I'm so excited for her. Now, false positives and false negatives. False positives and false negatives in a forensic DNA testing can be due to several factors, such as errors in sample handling or test interpretation. A false positive occurs when a DNA profile is incorrectly determined to be a match, which leads to a false accusation of an innocent individual. A false negative arises when a true match is deemed inconclusive or inaccurate, which can cause a guilty individual to walk free of any criminal charges. Some of the factors that contribute to the occurrence of false positives and false negatives include technical errors, sample contamination, and challenges in interpretation. To reduce the risk of such errors, there needs to be a continuous research to understand these factors and improve laboratory procedures and protocols in DNA sample handling and analysis. The statistical analysis of DNA evidence plays a crucial role in interpreting these results. Estimating a match, probability, or likelihood ratio is a fundamental component of DNA profiling. However, the accuracy of these statistical calculations depends on the underlying assumptions and available population databases. An article by Bright in 2002 highlighted the need for comprehensive databases that accurately represent the relevant populations to avoid potential bias and inaccuracies in calculating match probabilities. Expert testimony and admissibility in court. After collecting, handling, and analyzing the DNA samples, the results must be presented in court. This is when the accuracy and reliability of DNA evidence impact its admissibility and weight in court and in given expert testimony. Emphasis is placed on the importance of ensuring proper validation in peer-reviewed methods in forensic DNA analysis to ensure this occurs. DNA analysis is subjected to scrutiny regarding its accuracy, reliability, and potential limitations, which is why legal systems require robust scientific evidence to support expert claims. Which is why legal systems require robust scientific evidence to support expert claims. To avoid misconceptions and to ensure fairness during trial, experts need to be able to effectively communicate the limitations of DNA evidence to the courts. Undoubtedly, DNA evidence has revolutionized forensic science and continues to have a significant impact on criminal investigations. However, its accuracy is not infallible, and several factors can affect the reliability of DNA analysis. As mentioned in the article, factors such as interpretation challenges, sample contamination, and misconceptions in court can all contribute to the complexity surrounding DNA evidence. Although there may be doubts surrounding the accuracy and reliability of DNA evidence, there is ongoing research and development to negate these doubts. In addition, implementing rigorous quality control measures, validation studies, and population databases can also improve the accuracy of statistical calculations. Proper training and education of forensic scientists and effective communication of limitations by expert witnesses are vital in ensuring fair trials are conducted and proper use of DNA evidence occurs. A strict chain of custody. Here's all the sources on this article. A strict chain of custody. To minimize the risk of contamination. Chain of custody. The significant factor. I'll just highlight the whole paragraph. Right? What's that? What's that? So here's a link to the article if you'd like to have it. I don't know if it'll fit. It's a pretty long... Hopefully it'll fit. Let's see. Yep, it does. There's the link to the article if you'd like to have it. Right. That's okay. But okay. They spent more than 20 years in prison. Number one. Number two, they were convicted. So there's a difference. What I'm saying is if the person, if I was comparing it to the OJ trial when it comes to somebody being found not guilty and then being found guilty in a civil court. So if you're, I was saying he could probably get some money for if he's found not guilty. Who knows? He probably could get some money out of the state. But do you think? I would think that he just with what when you're in a civil court, it's completely different when it comes to the. You just need more than half. So, like, it's a lot easier. So I would assume that if he's found not guilty, I'm saying I doubt they're going to go look for somebody else. And then I would see the families taking him to civil for the crime. But all they could do is sue for rewards. So whatever money that he might end up getting would end up just, any book deals, any movie deals, any kind of deals would just probably end up going to the families. You know what I'm saying? Because I would assume that they would take him to civil if he's found not guilty. For this. So yeah, but if they were convicted, were they on trial for 20 years and then found not guilty is what I'm saying. Because they were, this other case here, you said spent more than 20 years in prison, who were just exonerated. So that means they were convicted. Yeah, they're going to get compensation and all that. What I'm saying is because it was referring to if he was found not guilty, well, that's a completely different story. He's not convicted. So I would assume that if he's found not guilty, I would assume the families would go, civil. No problem, Sheer. It's good to see you supporting everybody. I appreciate that. But yeah, if he's found not guilty, I would see them pursuing a civil case. No? What do you guys think? Do you think they would pursue a civil case against BK if he's found not guilty? I would think so. Especially, I think they would, ask the LE straight up, what, if he's found not guilty, I think they'd ask the LE straight up, what are you guys planning on doing? I would see them taking him to civil. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he would. But but here's the thing though. What's up, Brandywine? Happy birthday. Here's the thing though. Do you think if BK is found guilty, found not guilty, do you think the family would pursue in civil? I'm going to put a poll up because I'm curious. I think they would. If they know that, if they truly feel that he's the one that did this, I know there's some difference of opinions. By the way, Brian Netton had an interview with the family last night, so I'm also waiting to see if that's going to be dropped today too, by the way. But I'm thinking that I don't know. I'm just thinking that they're gonna pursue it in a civil. I don't know. I just see him. Let me see here. If BK found not guilty, will civil case be brought? Yeah, let me know. I'm curious. Well, I'm saying they're gonna try. If he's found, I'm just curious. If he's found not guilty, do you? And if the LE is just like in this other case, this Ann Taylor 2017 acquittal, what if they say, we feel so strongly that BK was the one that committed this crime and we apologize. We we didn't have what we thought we did, what we could have to convict or whatever. We feel like he's the one that is the one that committed this crime, even though the jury didn't agree. So we're not going to pursue other leads at this time. So if BK is found not guilty, and then they're not going to pursue anybody because they feel so strongly that BK is the one that did it, just like in the other case. If that's the case, do you think the family will pursue civil? Do you think that they will try so do you think they would go after the local enforcement? Well, that's true, commercial. I'm just saying the defense is like, we got all this evidence, right? Think about it. If they took the PCA, listen, if they took the PCA, if they took that evidence to a civil trial against BK, seriously, if they took that evidence, the DNA on the sheath, everything in the PCA, if they took everything from the PCA and brought it in a civil trial, wouldn't they probably win? Because when you can't get a conviction like that, if you feel that that's the person who, and there's not a conviction, you want some kind of justice as a family. So usually you go civil. You know what? You weren't found guilty. We still want you to have some kind of justice served, so we're going to go civil. So do you think that they would go after the local law? I don't think so. Because look at, like, I don't know. This is a question. Thought I'd share that article real quick. Thought it was interesting. All right, let's get into the folder. What is 56? What's the poll? It's not telling me. 56 to 44? I don't know. All right, let's get into some fresh notes, old notes. There was a chaos sector video. Oh, this is from Unravel. There's a couple from Unravel I wanted to play. Shout out Unravel. Let me put your link up there here. I'm going to play a couple of her videos that she posted. We're going to play a couple of her videos that she made here recently. Shout out Unravel. I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, when you look with the PCA, I mean, you could sit there like everything. Think about it. Everything that Bill Thompson's arguing right now would probably win in a civil trial without the homework. You know what I'm saying? Without the homework. You really think they would? Really? No shit. You really think so, Commercial? I would hope so, but, you know, I don't know. I'm just looking at it. You know, I'm just looking. I mean, think about it like this. When it comes to YouTube, how many are so pro 100%? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot. All right, there's two videos here. One is with the car here. Was BK stalking them the night of? We don't know where he was before 2:47. Okay, and then the next video is just some unraveling truth, the hints they have given us. So here's a couple videos from Unravel. Shout out Unravel. Appreciate you. Hope you're having a good day. It's going smooth and peaceful and easy at work. Thank you for all your support to Unravel. Here we go. Couple videos.
Okay. Should do Rugrats shaped Mac. It would get destroyed, and then a bunch of little mushy pieces. We use like a pretty robust elbow noodle. It's pretty thick, pretty big.
Can I do it now?
Yeah,
Next Halloween, I'm just gonna fucking drop on the step ladder. Let's fucking go, Joe.
Let's get like Chipotle.
More and more research into like instead of using like steroids,
They
you
just
like
use
eat
their
a
own
really
blood.
healthy meal, like do a blood. Yeah, it is dope.
Okay, now this is showing. Let me see. Let me make sure I get the whole screen in here. 1 second. Because I think she's showing the vehicle. Just kind of updating my screen here. I think that's good right there. Okay. Now, I think... So there's like a white vehicle up here that pulls around, and I think that's what she's asking. Idaho4, was Brian Koberger stalking them the night of? We don't know where he was before 2:47. So I'm thinking she's talking about how this white car that keeps kind of coming through, driving by the grub truck. Because when we were doing the deep dive, we could hear the same types of vehicles constantly coming by every, I don't know, it seemed like 10, 20 minutes. And they'd be kind of like, you know, just doing weird shit. So I'm wondering if she's thinking that this maybe was possibly him. So let me rewind just a little bit. You're going to see reflections in the windows behind the students. So back here, or people, I should say, you're going to see reflections coming by. I'm going to share this link with you, and you can always zoom it in and slow it down for yourself as well.
It'd be $18.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I managed to actually. I should, but I'm going to. Don't ever let him.
Okay.
Should do Rugrats shaped Mac. It would get destroyed, and then a bunch of little mushy pieces. We use like a pretty robust elbow noodle. It's pretty thick, pretty big.
Can I do it now?
Yeah,
Next
yeah,
Halloween, I'm just gonna fucking drop on the step ladder. Let's fucking go, Joe.
Let's get
More and more recently for like instead of using like steroids,
They just use their
eat a
own
really
blood.
healthy meal, like do a blood. Yeah, it is a joke.
Hi.
Kind of.
I just get a 5 cheese mac and cheese, please.
All right, that was all for you tonight.
Taking out
It'll be $8 for you.
and then putting in a liter of blood at a later date.
So you can sue for malpractice afterwards.
Who is the guy in the baseball hat?
Which one? That's Derek. Derek, look at the camera.
Joey said, "Hey yo, Grow Trigger."
Oh yeah.
Hey Joey, what's up?
That is fucking cool, man. Garlic.
Thanks, go get him fried. By the way, I forgot to tell you.
What's up, Joey?
I want to be like A-Train, loser.
Huh.
Oh, you want to be like A-Train? You run 1,000,000 miles an hour?
Yeah. There's only 2.
Sorry, Storm Dancer Unravel makes her own content, so it's a grub truck video. But yeah, she makes her own. She's amazing. Now, this is gosh, what were we talking about? It was from a while back. We were talking about something. There was something different she was noticing or something. Are you working, Unravel? Are you working today? It's Friday. Maybe you might have it off. Let me know if you're working, Unravel.
Have a nice night. I got chicken, pork, and bacon too. Yeah.
I think she has Fridays off.
Hi, can I get a pizza, mac and cheese, and a bottle of Mountain Dew?
You ready?
Hello.
All right.
Can we get a 5 cheese and a definitely garlic?
All right. Was it off for you?
It's hard to tell up there.
We do not do a mac and cheese burrito. You
Hopefully she can join.
No, I think it does. Peas and cheese. I don't know if it goes.
I know that Gabby Petito was such a sad case.
Yeah? What did you get?
I got a truffle mushroom.
How was that?
It's probably my new favorite.
Otherwise, I might step away from the line and then before I send that text, I might get a different one. God, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh, how did I get a discount?
You have like 89 points
for
that you can
downtime,
use.
Joe.
Wait, you get points?
I guess so. I'll use them. I'll use them.
Ready for the
Because it gave me the choice to use it, and usually when it gives me the choice, I just.
Oh, that's totally fine with me. Thank you. Awesome.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
How can you wake up dead? Well, when you're dead.
I started shaking my hand real fast.
All right. Is that everything for you?
I stopped over the left hand with my right. Got tired.
All right. It's $8.
He goes, gotta warm up. See how long that lasts. Spices? Yeah, it's gonna be spices. Okay, are we talking about like the spicy? Yeah, fairly. I believe the Nashville will be hotter.
Okay. The sand.
All right. Anything else for you guys?
This us.
It's gonna be $20.
Is it Parmesan that's been worn down? Pork taco chip.
Yoli update. She says she's on Zoom waiting for the judge to call the case. I will find out this morning if I start trial. I just want to go already. Shout out Yoli. We appreciate you. Yoli update.
Oh.
I'm almost from Slauson.
I hope she's from the good part. She's from the good part.
She's okay.
Okay.
But
She don't
she's
go
good.
walking up and down the street, right?
No.
Okay, good. Yeah,
But she's
good.
from yeah.
She's good. Yeah. Valid. You take care too, man. You have a nice
Appreciate
night.
you.
You have a great night. You too. You have a great night.
Long Beach is where it's at. Order 44. Thank you.
Can I get a 5-cheese chicken?
5 cheese chicken. Oh, cool.
Yep, already going.
It's gonna be $11. How's your night going?
Pretty good. How's yours?
Very well. Thanks for asking. One more bun for you.
The
Sorry.
idea is calling it as
Jenna, come back. 45.
What can I do for
Do you
you?
have the bottle?
Yes, we do. Of course. 1025.
I know.
Doesn't get much better than that. Order 75. Thank you. Woo. Hell yeah, I love it. Order 61. Thank you. Thank you. Almost the end of the range. Thank you. Have a nice night.
Yeah, and Ravel, she does a lot of great work. I'm thinking if she's not, because sometimes she's able to join on Fridays during the day, but usually she can join at night. So we'll be doing a show tonight. So she should be on tonight. I'd like to kind of go through this with her on panel.
Is it possible? Can I get the carbonara?
Because she edited all these clips together here.
Can I do what you?
Yes, 2 pork tacos for you.
Okay.
I'm watching.
That's totally true, unit. I think that's where they got all their surveillance, right? The whole, all around downtown Pullman, downtown Moscow, in between, any camera can pick up any white car. Unravel News. What the hell is this? Look at this. What the hell, Unravel? Damn, look at this. Yeah, and there was a white car that was pulling out on the top of that camera too. I'm sure she'll be joining tonight, so I'll kind of have her go through her new stuff here. So it says right here, disclosure obligations under Rule 17-2. This is like Rule 16. The prosecuting attorney is not generally deemed responsible for disclosure of information and material held by federal law enforcement agencies, which is true, right? That's why I said they were referencing that case because of this argument right here. Damn, can I get a what about this one? Nope. This one. There we go. So they had responded with a previous case with that right there. They didn't have to be responsible for disclosing information of material that was held by a higher agency. So right here it says, the state also argues that the family tree created by the FBI and notes made by the FBI during the genealogy investigation cannot accurately be described as the results of or reports of scientific tests or experiments or fall outside of Rule 16, B5 motion for protective order at Rule 15. Rule 16b5 does not require the state to disclose what investigators do with the results of reports from scientific experts. Reply and supplemental of motion for protective order at 4. According to the state, the rule only requires the disclosure of the results and reports themselves, in this case, the STR DNA profile and the SNP DNA profile created from the K-bar knife. because somebody else has it. That's why I said yesterday before we even got into anything, I'm like, they're just gonna hand them the tip and say, look, we can't give you anything else. All we got is the tip. That's all we can give you. That's why I say it's gonna keep getting delayed. The private ride. And this is what the state is arguing here. So it says the court finds probable cause to believe the defendant committed the crimes shown above, and a warrant of arrest shall be issued, setting bail in the amount of no bail. Megan Marshall. Is this muted? No, there's sound up. Does it just go through documents or something? Oh, these are all the pictures that she was sending me. Right. That's true. Then you are in charge. Yeah, you are in charge, right? It's a good point. You are in charge then. That's a good point, commercial. There's got to be, That's a good legal question right there. But you would almost have to know. Wow. That's interesting. That's the movie we kind of thought of when we were talking about this case. Is like, man, this dude had to been like that dude in the movie, you know? To be able to to be able to commit the crime where nobody knows how you even left, right? It just makes you think of the movie American Psycho when they're talking about Huey Lewis. If you know what I mean, if you've seen that movie. And they're talking about Huey Lewis. I'll just say that. Huey Lewis. All right. Good video from Harsh this morning. Talking about the sheath. Talking about the sheath. And justice. We're going to check one of his videos out before we get into some of the fresh notes, old notes for today. There we go.
Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you are all well. Guess what? It's only bloody Friday.
It's
Friday,
Friday, baby.
Friday.
It's
And
Friday,
you're looking
baby.
amazing, by the way. This week has been kind to you. So shall we crack on and get on with some meat and potatoes? Because yesterday saw Brian
Gorgeous.
Koberger back in court reference this DNA situation, the IGG.
What's
the
up, Aaron?
SNP profiles, all that, where the defense are yet again saying, gimme, 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 and the prosecution are going, well, there ain't really a lot to be given. There's some notes where Dave writ some stuff down during the process, but in terms of stuff that is probably helpful towards the case, anything of any importance, we don't think that exists. But look, what we do know is the judge eventually, after several months, said, look, you need to get this stuff over. I'm saying this DNA situation is gone on long enough. Get them the stuff. Get it.
But they're not gonna. It's like I'm saying, what's up, Marina? Yesterday, in the court hearing, Bill Thompson had a really good amount of time to get some of that information he was supposed to get way back when from that private lab. When Ann Taylor was asking. It was the same court hearing where he was like, Your Honor, how can we provide something we simply don't have? Listen, we're gonna reach out to him. We're gonna try and get the information. We're gonna reach out to him, and we're gonna see what we can do. That was what he said a couple months ago. Yesterday's court hearing, we're gonna see what we can get. So do you think he's gonna have the shit on December 1st? No. Your Honor, how can we simply supply something we don't have? I can keep reaching out and I can keep asking. So then January 1st comes by, but then it's a couple days because of the holiday. January 2nd, January 3rd. I just simply can't provide something I don't have. I mean, Your Honor, I'll reach out to him. I'll see what I can get. February 1st comes. February 1st comes. Your Honor, how could I give you something I simply don't have? I can reach out to him and I can see what I can get. And then the court says, you know what? Then the court says, you know what? You're not using this. You're using the tip. I don't see, right? He had all this time. And I'm telling you, Not, I'm just saying, even from the private lab. If the private lab had something, if the ISP lab had something, do you think it would take a month to get it? And I'm being generous, because it's been a hell of a lot longer than a month where he could have got information from a private lab. They've had all this time because it's been in December. You already had the name. You got the profile in December, which got you the tip. So you're going to tell me in a month you couldn't get it? In 2 months you couldn't get it? In 10 months you couldn't get it? In 10 months you couldn't get it? I'm surprised. This is one thing I was surprised of. I'm surprised that the judge didn't call Thompson out and say, weren't you already supposed to get the information from the private lab? Didn't you say you were going to be reaching out to them to see what you could get a couple months ago? So why are you answering regarding the private lab? The agency's one thing. But for a private lab, why are you answering it like I'm just asking you to try and get the information? And if it's DNA and it's the profile, if it's the radar of a speeding ticket that's being contested, well, then don't you keep the fucking radar information? If I'm being accused of speeding, and I know damn well I wasn't speeding, and I show up to court or at the traffic stop, let me see the radar. That's the minimalistic look at it there. But if it's the most damning information, what's more damning? DNA profile and a match, or a fucking grainy surveillance video? What's more damning? A bushy eyebrow statement from DM, or a DNA profile match and all the homework it took to get to it? What's more damning? What's more damning? Cell phone data? Utilizing towers that the property was utilizing as well? Or DNA profile match with all the statistics? What's more damning? So why in the hell wouldn't you keep the most damning information under lock and key? In your back pocket. That's the one set of documents that there it is. Anybody wants to see it? Boom. Anybody wants to see it? Boom. Not not us, obviously, but I'm saying anybody? Like, you should have that shit in your back pocket. Boom. You want to see it? Right there. So if, like what I was saying yesterday, all they got is the tip. All they got is the tip. And that's what they did. The Oregon car went to shit. That lead went to shit. Fuck, what do? We're back to square one. And to be honest, That's why I always said I thought the agency was like hot potato. Hot potato. And I wouldn't be surprised if if the tip was, look, this isn't something, this is just a little crumb. Don't take this as the whole muffin. This is just a little crumb. This is what we're working on right now. This is where we're going with it. Because think about all the different possibilities when it comes to the contamination. When it comes to even like you could put freaking whatever name you want on a DNA freaking 23andMe. Ain't that crazy? So when all them things factor in, which is already reasonable doubt, when I think that I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the end game wasn't just the arrest of somebody. Oh, there's got to be video at the corner club, not just inside, outside, both sides, the patio where the chairs are. The Moose Lodge has to have some kind of something. And there's cameras all over them streets too.
And yesterday was the first day that they were in there seeing what was going to transpire. It was going to be, hey, what's what we got then? And we've learned possibly on the very first day why they didn't want to hand anything over in the first place. Now, I'm not a genealogy expert. I'm not at all. Genealogy and all that goes right over my head. Last time I knew anything about genies was when I knew that they give people free wishes, and I'm yet to see one. And look, what would I want? What more would I want? I've got you guys watching videos, looking amazing, and we get to hang out. That's enough for me. I don't need any genies giving me wishes. Anyway, I digress. So look, we've got a situation where it would appear that we don't have one profile, DNA profile. We now have two. How magic is that? I've seen it in the like the magic shows where they get something and all of a sudden they turn it into more than one. So, and you're like, wow, how did he do that? And sometimes that's a good thing. Like if someone's got a $5 and then they turn it into $10, then the fact that there's now two lots of $5, that is a good thing. Now in Brian Koberger's situation, the fact that there was one.
Wasn't that weird? I kind of wanted to watch that again because that was a weird part that when we were watching it and it said the two SNP profiles. But then I was like, because I made a note of it, but then I started thinking about it and I was like, maybe it was just the same profile. They're just talking about two of them because they're from two different agencies. See my notes right here. Two SNP profiles. One is the FBI stated, and then one is the private lab. There was communications between they wanted and the family tree decisions as well. But that's what I was thinking. Yeah, there was two SNP profiles, one from the FBI, one from the private lab. But are they the same person though? Right? I thought they were the same person. So that's one part that I wanted to kind of go over. I didn't want to put anything out there about it being two different ones because I have to rewatch that. I don't know. The verbiage. It's the verbiage. And I want to hear what you guys think too. What do you guys think? Do you remember that part from yesterday when we were watching that? When they were saying two SNP? Ann Taylor was. It was towards the end. It was towards the end.
Profile, and now there's two profiles. That's not so good. you see, because now you've got to think, well, where did the other one come from? And it seems to be that what has happened when, let's call it place A, which is kind of Idaho and that, who had it originally. When they had it, that was one. Then they sent it to the FBI, and it went into this magic computery box, and that changed it. That basically changed it into something.
Yeah, because see, they were talking about it yesterday, and then some of the shows that we've been watching, the lab that was working on it, okay? The lab that was working on it was a lower kind of tier compared to what the FBI had. So what was going, so it's going to be a lower grade profile compared to what the FBI grade has. So yes, it's 2, but it's the same. It's an updated. It's more like the profile before had, I'm just going to I don't know, I don't know the numbers. I'm just going to say the previous profile had 100,000 whatever. The FBI then puts it in their computer, and it adds a whole bunch of extra to it and brings out extra from it, which would give it like a million. So it's, yes, it's a new profile, but it's updated. No? Like it's updated. It's not a different one. It's updated past what you think it's 2 different ones. I just assumed it was because is the private lab, which is a lower tier compared to the FBI, right? FBI, and then you got the private tier, 2 profiles, 2 different ones, but the same person. Just one's upgraded. No. That's not what I'm saying about. Of course you can't have 2. Listen, I don't know. Maybe I need to listen to it, but what I'm thinking is it's like an upgraded version. It's the same person, an upgraded version, an extra.
Something else, and then sent it, because that's how it apparently.
That's what I'm saying.
Works.
It's an upgraded version.
Now we know that Vargas back before she was intimidated. Sorry, I didn't mean intimidated. I mean spoken to by the FBI. She had spoken about the difficulties in all this situation and the reason why it is so important for things like this to be looked at, and all of the documentation, all of the paperwork, all of the paper trail to be scrutinized to make sure that there isn't any errors. And when you find that this sort of thing is happening, it does raise questions, especially when you've got Bill Thompson, who's clearly got a fucking problem with Brian Coburg. And look, I get it that the guy is being accused and what he's being accused of. But Bill Thompson has got a problem. He seems very angry with the entire process, very angry that he's being put out. And the position that they've placed themselves in is going to be a position where they are scrutinized. And nobody else has done that. Nobody else has done that. If they would have done everything above board, by the book, and in the manner with which it should have been done from the very, very start,
you would have that shit in your back pocket.
And that is, a crime happens, you investigate the crime leads you to an individual, and so on and so forth.
You would have that
there
shit
wouldn't
in
be
your
a
back
problem.
pocket.
The
No.
problem is, nobody really knows how we got here. And every time the defense asks a question, they don't get an answer. They just get an answer where, oh, it might exist, it might not exist, we don't think we've got it, they haven't got it anymore, you don't need that, that's not important. And that's all you're getting. And if you're someone who truly believes in the justice system and the pursuit of justice and clarity and transparency, then things like this should freak you out.
Right.
Because the realism is, this doesn't affect me.
Right, and this doesn't affect me, but you never know. This could be anybody, and that's everything that we've been saying this whole time, is that this could be anybody. It could be your loved one, it could be your friend, it could be your neighbor, it could be your, just an acquaintance. Somebody that you don't,
This don't affect me. I do this and talk about these cases because they're a tragedy. They're an
Yeah.
absolute tragedy. And when I see them being reported and the
Shout
utter
out, Harsh.
biased nature of the likes of News Nation, that's a travesty.
Yes.
And you guys have the right to have someone who will bring you everything, to talk about everything, and try and get you to look at things in a different way.
Mhm.
Not just this blinkered way of
Yeah, the fucking car with a front windshield and that's it. How many of you would drive a car with just a front windshield and you had nothing else? You couldn't, everything else was just blocked off. You couldn't see shit. All you had was a front window. That'd be dangerous as hell, no? So when you look at shit in a narrow fucking way with blinders on, just what you're missing everything. You're missing everything. Preach, Harsh.
looking at things.
Preach.
Like I'll tell you now, look. This was brought up during another conversation about a completely different topic. It was actually about watches. And someone said to somebody, why is Omega much better in every way than Rolex? And the answer to that question was because that's what you want to see. That's what you want. And I'll explain where that is connected to this. In the Brian Kohberger case and the Idaho4 case, you guys will have a preconceived notion of what you believe happened. And once you've embedded that in your brain, you will actively seek out, hunt down anything that gives you validation to prove that what you think is right. So you will ignore everything. And this knife sheath situation has got so much to it that you guys who believe that this is a slam dunk, this proves beyond a reasonable doubt that he was there. How was a knife sheath in that crime scene with his DNA on it if he didn't do it? And there are people out there who have that mentality. Now, look, I'm going to lay this shit bare. And that is that knife sheath would have had his DNA on it before it entered the house. That's a fact. So it got put on there before that was in the house or after. Now, I don't like to jump down rabbit holes and talk about things being planted, but look, we're in a situation now.
Talk about Mark Carver, man.
Where this DNA, give us it, we don't have it, we only have some of it, we only have notes. This has gone on too far. And
Talk
now
about Mark
to turn
Carver.
around and say, well, yeah, we sent a profile and it changed it, and now we have two separate profiles and all of this. To the layman, you're left thinking, right, so you haven't got one profile now, you've got two. And why have you got two? What was the need to change it? Why are there different adaptations? And when you go back to the crime itself with respect of the knife sheath situation, you're left thinking, well, how did it get left? How did he leave it? He would have known before he even drove away that he didn't have it. 100%. He'd have known before he left the house. Now, apparently, he didn't. As far as we know, Dylan Mortensen didn't.
Right. And let me ask you guys. Where are you gonna? So with with the knife, and what it was used to do, and how many, you don't have a sheath for it. How does that not? You're not going to carry it in your pocket. You're not going to carry the thing in your pocket without a sheath. So then where are you putting it? And that's not going to transfer anything either? I mean, maybe in some Dickies, but damn, I don't know. I wouldn't be trusting that knife in some Dickies. What if I tripped on a damn rock or something, you know? Like, seriously, what, accidents frickin' happen, right? What if I frickin' had that thing in my front pocket and in my Dickie suit and frickin' tripped on a damn rock, and the next thing you know, I mean, I wouldn't see somebody where do you carry it? I know, and it didn't even indicate it was that weapon you used, correct? So where'd the weapon, the point I'm trying to make, Jen, is that if you use that weapon during a crime and you have no way to cover it up, right? Because they're saying that the sheath was part of the crime. That's why they're trying to convict Koberger. So if you're trying to tell me that the weapon didn't have its sheath and you're trying to carry that weapon because the weapon wasn't found there, how? Sorry, my StreamYard's bugging out here. What I'm saying is how did that weapon not transfer any DNA because it didn't have a sheath? So if it didn't have a cover because the weapon wasn't found and the weapon had to leave the property, how would it have been transferred without? How would it have been transported without transferring something? Because how are you going to carry that if you don't have the cover for it? If that was, if you're convicted, BK, because his DNA was on the sheath, that's it. That's it. So if his DNA was on the sheath and that's part of the crime, you're saying that's part of the crime. How did you transport that weapon without it transferring something somewhere else? Whether it was the vehicle. Because do you not get DNA on you when you go to dispose of DNA? Like, do you not get it on you? So then if you went to go dispose of items that had DNA, then wouldn't you then transfer that into your vehicle when you were going to dispose of it? Somehow, some way. And I'm sorry, we saw the outside of that vehicle. That wasn't a clean vehicle before he left. Certainly not cleaned good enough to be able to not have any trace amounts. You gotta be crazy. I'm not putting that damn thing in my pocket. You damn straight it's gonna have a cover. You're damn straight it's gonna have a cover. And if it don't, then I'm carrying it in my frickin' hand. I am not. And if it's in my hand, then what does my hand do? My hand touches everything else. It doesn't make sense.
Didn't see him carrying it, so he didn't have it in his hand. At some point, he'd have had to have taken gloves off, for instance. If he was driving a car and he had gloves on,
no
he
cuts,
would have had to have
right?
taken them off.
Something.
And then he's got this in his hand. So what the fuck does he do with it? Does he
Yeah,
put it
harsh.
in his pocket? Does he lay it on the ground? Does he put it in his teeth and bite it? I don't understand, because at some point he's going to think, I don't have it. Where has it gone?
Right.
don't have what was holding it.
Right.
And he's going to go back in there and look. He's only been in 2 places. He's been upstairs in a room and downstairs in a room. 2 places. Why would he have not gone back in and found it and taken
What's
it
up,
away?
American Princess?
And I know people are going to turn around and say the adrenaline, he left in a hurry, but he's got it in his hand. He's got to do something with it. He's got this in his hand. You can't just turn around and say, well, he's done it. But he's got it. And that he's going to know that the thing that it was in, he no longer has. I just can't work it out. I can't work it out. And the transfer of DNA is so easy. So easy. Someone could have shook someone's hand, who shook someone's hand, touched, brought, and that's how it could have got on there. I also have said this before. How we're supposed to believe that Brian Coburg wore gloves to handle everything, but the one thing that he got in order to commit this crime, he didn't wear gloves. Didn't wear gloves at all. Now, perhaps he touched it in some other fashion and it went on to somebody else. Remember, these are all students around here. We've got hunters in this area.
And that's why Ann Taylor keeps asking for the same shit over and over and over. If this is what led you to my client to be arrested, indicted, then we need to see it, because it refers back to the article that I read in the beginning of the show that talks about the importance of the homework, the chain of custody, how it's handled. And when somebody wants to know when it comes to who handled it, chain of custody. When it comes to what was done of it, chain of custody. There's always chains of custody. Even if you don't have the homework, you have the chain of custody. Something is shady.
This area. Maybe Brian did have an interest in these sort of things and he bought them and sold it. We don't know. We don't know. But this is my point. At this stage in time, you guys are so fixated on certain elements of this case and saying that these are what proves beyond a reasonable doubt that this is Brian, and it ain't. It ain't. It really isn't. I want there to be more proof.
Right.
I want it to be proven. Well, can you imagine what will happen if this guy is convicted and what if he is executed and he's executed on what we know now? Not anything else. Nothing else. Just what you have now. And they just managed to embellish the story and convince a potentially biased jury pool.
Yeah. They freaking got the tip, you know. There was a whole team. We're going to Oregon, everybody. We think we found the car. We're going to Oregon. Get to Oregon. All of a sudden, ooh, tip. Let's go, guys. Let's go. So, shout out Midnight Radio. And it's interesting that you kind of brought this up, the whole naked man theory when it comes to this case. I'm going to shout out Midnight Radio, and we're going to check out one of his videos when it comes to that part of the theory. Always. Always. And where is it? It should be there. Midnight Radio. Definitely go sub if you're not subbed. I'd love to have this gentleman on the show sometime. I think it'd be cool. I would love to actually be on, have him on for Conversations with CJ episode. So if you are in chat, Midnight, let me know. Love to have you on. Just sit back and chit chat for a couple hours. Just talk, chill back, talk. Just a conversation. Midnight Radio. We're going to check out. This is from, I think, a couple months ago. Hold on. Let me update my highlight thing here for the creator. There we go. I think this is from 4 months ago here. No, a month ago. September 11th. Okay.
In this video, I make zero promises and zero accusations. The naked man theory is something that was stated by Brian
Good morning,
Kohlberger's
Swampside.
defense as reported in the affidavit when they tried to subpoena Bethany Funk for a possible exonerating alibi. Please subscribe and hit the bell so you can join the conversation, and please hit that like. Thank you. Look in the video description below to check out the links to the sources.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. It's a little bit loud here. That's pretty neat. I like that.
It is high time we talked about the naked man theory. We've talked about this before, but when I talked about this before, I had it mixed up in my mind, and I'm not sure why. I had DM and Bethany Funk. DM is Dylan Mortson and Bethany Funk. Those are the two surviving roommates from the Idaho4 massacre in Idaho. And we all know that Dylan Mortson is the one that said she went into a shock phase outside of the room when she saw this man with a ski mask on his face with these big bushy eyebrows walk right out the door, okay? And we all heard that Bethany Funk, or Funky, which I'm told is pronounced Funk.
Number
Her mother
58,
is a
ticket number
lawyer.
58. Thank
She
you,
clammed up,
Swampside.
never said anything to anybody. There's very little known. There's been a little bit reported. I'm going to show you the evidence that I do have, and we're going to talk about the naked man theory. And we all know that right before there was a grand jury, and they changed it into a secret grand jury where none of the evidence was shown to us, but they had enough that they felt, and you don't know what it is, all right? It's more than was on the arresting affidavit, all right? You don't know what it is. It doesn't matter if you think you do or not. None of us know yet, okay?
Nope.
Some people think that there's a lot more incriminating things on there than what is left to the public.
Ooh, send them to me again, Swampside. Yes, happy birthday again, everybody. And he's exactly right. That's what we don't know. We don't know. We don't know.
All of this is being kept really close to the chest by law enforcement. Unfortunately, it's causing a lot of rabid speculations and some really ridiculous things out there. But let me show you what I have here, and it'll remind you too. So if you look at, let me pull this up real quick, and we'll talk about the funky man, the funky naked man theory. Share it with you right now.
Shout out
right
Midnight
here, as
Radio.
you can see, this came out from the Mirror, a fine journalistic organization. Again, this came out in April 25th. The surviving roommate in the University of Idaho stabbings has begged not to appear at the suspect's hearing. Bethany Funk, 21, the one whose mother's a lawyer, the one, like, her mother swooped in and nobody's talking about Bethany Funk.
It's true.
One of the two survivors, Miss Funk, allegedly heard or witnessed things which could potentially exonerate the suspect. All right. That is speculation. That's a wild ass theory, a wild ass speculation, if you will. But we're going to come to the part that's not. Investigator Richard Boutani, who is working for Ann Taylor, lawyer, has subpoenaed Mrs. Funk to appear at the accused killer's hearing on June 28th. That didn't happen because at a secret grand jury, she was never called to testify. There was no hearing. Now, on the affidavit, it said she allegedly witnessed a naked man on the affidavit. This was on the affidavit. She had allegedly witnessed a naked man run through a rear sliding door. She lived on the first floor of the home and came face to face with the alleged killer. All right. But she came naked man theory. Who is the naked man? Who is the funky naked man?
What's up, bro?
People are saying. Was it Brian Kohlberger? Maybe they just need to give us more information. She's allegedly to have heard or saw things which could clear the suspect, as Mr. Bertoni argued will be a critical witness. Mr. Kohlberger's lawyers claim Ms. Funk has exculpatory evidence, information that is material and necessary to the alleged killer's defense. If she refused to appear, she could face a potential fine of $500, 25 days. She agreed to meet with the defense. She agreed, but it didn't happen because of the secret grand jury indictment, which the defense came later and said that it wasn't lawful, which their argument to me looked like complete and utter bullshit, saying that they should have had evidence beyond a shadow of a doubt instead of just he could have done this, which has never been the letter of the law or the interpretation of the law. But they argued the judge had the ability to do that, and he said no.
This guy's awesome.
So what do we have here? Well, so far we have them going full throttle with a secret grand jury that none of us can know about what they talked about. We have the DNA genetic witness supposedly being harassed by the FBI. I've later heard that she's recanting some of her testimony. The FBI actually, after she was on the stand and she was testifying, they went and talked to her. I was like, hey, what are you doing? Matter of fact, Ann Kohlberger's filing some new paperwork about how witnesses, after they testify, are going to be treated from now on in this case. It's very interesting. Did you hear about this naked man theory? Are we ever going to hear about this naked man theory? What is this exculpatory evidence? I'm going to leave, and I don't normally do this, but I will this time. I'm going to put the article link in the notes below. I want to know what you think. Do you think Bethany Funk really has information about this? She's not talking about it because maybe she was doing some illegal things, like maybe she was using some kind of drugs. You know, a lot of people are calling this racist. They are. I mean, they're saying there's white girls murdered. There's a white man that did it. It's national news. And you have some students that didn't call until 8 hours later. Police didn't show up until 12 hours later. And supposedly they were on drugs. Maybe there was some drug evidence they're getting rid of. I don't know. People are saying this. If they were black, would they have been treated different? I don't know. These are questions that just boggle my freaking mind. I want to know what you think about it. I want to know if you think that Funk has more information that she...
Yeah, she does. Funk definitely has, I feel, and have felt, has exculpatory evidence. It just makes sense. Let's see if we got... All right, I'm going to check something real quick. I'm going to see if... Let's see if Yoli's live. Nope, there is no live right now, so might be still waiting, or it might not be available for a live stream, so I'll keep checking. All right, so these are from Swamp Side here. So this is where the Jeep is. And then, yeah, where like the ATV tracks were or whatever. Thank you for the email. Appreciate that. I mean, there's a reason it wasn't put in the PCA. Just like there was a... Oh, there... Yeah, it's just probable cause, but that's an easy argument against it. But what I'm saying is yeah, but don't you want something? Wouldn't you want two statements if you had two statements? It just solidifies the PCA even more, because the last thing you want is the PCA to fall apart. You know? Especially in this. It's very important. That is interesting. What's this? Like a different... Let you guys see that zoomed up for a minute. Actually, let me go to this here. Look at the work boot prints. Looks like impression of just Joe was wearing work boots. Well, these are pictures from Swamp. And this is, I'm going to show the other picture here real quick. This is where, see the red Jeep? And that's where those, remember the ATV tracks people were talking about right here? So those are supposedly that, and then supposed footprints. Thank you for the pictures. Shows it a little better there. What's up, Angel? Go to New York Post drone footage images. I need a drone. That's for sure. That's one thing I need to try and acquire is a drone. All right, let me see if there's anything breaking, and then we're going to go back to that court hearing from yesterday, and we're going to kind of go through it again another time, and I'm really going to be paying attention to a lot of the other things. I was just focused on the actual process of it. I'm going to be looking out for the 2 SNP profile talk. I believe it was around the middle or towards the end, maybe. I don't remember for sure. It was a long show yesterday. But we're going to watch that. And then I'm going to be kind of paying attention to some of the other things that stuck out from the prior court hearing. So again, this is Brian Enton. Here's the link for this, if you'd like to have it for yourself. And we're going to go through this again.
This is Brian Koberger, case number
CR 2805. We're conducting this status conference.
What the hell is that?
Zoom. There are people in the courtroom, but all counsel are participating on Zoom. Representing the state is Ms. Jennings, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Nye, and Ms. Beatty. Representing Mr. Koberger is Ms. Taylor, Ms. Massa, and I don't see Mr. Logston, so apparently he's not here. I believe that Mr. Koberger is also on Zoom. Is that right, Ms. Taylor?
Your Honor, he is. We're in the same room. You can't see him, but you can hear him, and he can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, so you are downstairs right now.
I'm downstairs right now.
Okay, thank you. All right, so this is a status conference following the court's order addressing IGG DNA and an order for in-camera review. And when we were talking about this at the last hearing, the state wanted to sort of find out how quickly they could get some of this IGG information back to the court so I could review it. So I'll start with you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, we met via Zoom or Teams or whatever you call it with the folks from the FBI on Monday, and we had shared with them already a copy of Your Honor's order, and we have now sent a 2E letter, which is the formal request process we have to go through. They indicated that they would try to see if it could be expedited. The 2E letter has to go all the way back to Department of Justice and route through its bureaucracy. We asked for, give us an estimation, and they said, well, it could take as long as a month. And so that's where we are right now. We're already in the process of making sure we've gathered everything from the private contract DNA company. So we'll have that ready to submit along with what we receive from the FBI once we get it.
Okay, and has it been specified in terms of what kinds of information they have and may be willing to provide?
We gave them a copy of Your Honor's order and said, and the 2E letter says, please provide all information that the court has directed in the attached order.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Let me go now to Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Judge. Your Honor, if I'm understanding Mr. Thompson correctly, the court should receive information from Othram Labs for the work that they did, probably ahead of the work that the FBI did. If reading between the lines, that's the private lab, and I think the state has more ready access to all of the Othram Lab work and filings. So I guess where I'm at is I would still ask the court to set deadlines for each, and if they're to come in separate pairs or separate sets of information, that's okay. But I think the court could set deadlines for the Othram materials as well as the FBI materials, understanding that Mr. Thompson estimates at least 30 days. I do have some additional questions and requests for that process when the time's right.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Taylor. Yeah, I was going to go back to you, Mr. Thompson. Go ahead.
I think that it could be misleading to the court to only have partial information to work with, and it'd be our preference that we make a complete submission all at once. Because Your Honor can't assess all of what's out there without seeing all of what's out there and seeing the interrelationship between it.
Well, here, I'll rewind it if you can't hear it. It should have closed. Nope, still no closed captioning on it. Yeah, still no closed captioning on it either. So, yeah, it's as loud as it can go.
Leading to the court to only have partial information to work with, and it'd be our
Loud as it can
preference
be.
that we make a complete submission all at once. Because Your Honor can't assess all of what's out there without seeing all of what's out there and seeing the interrelationship between it.
All right. Because the private lab and the FBI were sort of working together. Is that what?
No, I think as Mr. Nye described in his briefing on this, the work began with the private lab, and then there was a transfer to the private lab, from the private lab to the FBI, and there were also reports the private lab prepared, preliminary reports that were sent to the Idaho State Police Laboratory, and they all address the same things and overlap. And so it would be, from our perspective, because we've been trying to sort through this ourselves, we're inviting confusion for the court if you don't have everything in front of you, if you're just trying to look at this piecemeal. I mean, we're happy to give it to you however your honor wants. It's just a heads up that your review before having everything is not going to be particularly productive.
All right. You want to respond to that, Ms. Taylor?
I do. Thank you. Your Honor,
And we'll be going over these different parts again too. So if you didn't hear it before, we'll be definitely playing it again. So that was Bill Thompson's explanation here. Ann Thompson's response. I thought she did a great job yesterday. Just
I
my
would not
opinion.
expect the court to make decisions about Othram without having the full scope. It's just been a long road for us to get information. The court is aware after our third motion to compel and the state's response that we were going to get SNP profiles. And I know that the state waited until they had the FBI profiles available to give us the SNP from Othram. Your Honor, we will have further discussions later about that, but I think that there's missing information from the Othram profile that we have. I'm hoping the court gets it, and I certainly understand that the court needs to see everything to make a decision. My hope is that everything includes communication so that you can follow the path of what happened while you make your decision as well. I wouldn't expect you to release it or decide what portions would be released or what orders might apply until you see it all. I'm hoping that there will be some deadlines in place so that you can begin getting the information.
All right, thank you. My understanding is that that the private lab SNP profile was already provided to you. Is that right, Ms. Taylor?
Your Honor, I received in discovery a SNP profile, SNP profile that I believe came from Othram and one that came from the FBI. The Othram is not the FASTQ file, which is the general format that does come out in. It's a different kind of file, and it's a smaller data file than the FBI data file. And so I think that there's some issues with what we received from Othram. We have that. We have what the FBI file is, although it's missing a good percentage of information, and we'll be talking to the state about some of that later, but they've provided some things. We think it's sufficient.
Okay. Obviously, I'm asking to look at all this because I can't make informed decisions if I don't. Is my understanding was maybe there was one SNP profile, but now I'm hearing that maybe there are two, one from the FBI and one from the private lab.
That's correct, Your Honor. And the difference is the one from the private lab is the initial profile that the private lab analyst created from the DNA, the portion of the DNA sample.
Right.
Then what was transferred to the FBI was after that original SNP had been uploaded to a database, access to the database was transferred. And it's our understanding that once a SNP is put into one of these databases, the database adjusts the SNP to fit what their criteria are for them to do their searches. So there are differences between the two, the entirety of the two SNP. Mr. Nye, you're very knowledgeable on this. Jump in if I'm not stating it clearly. And so in an exercise of caution, we wanted to make sure the defense had both. Had what the original SNP that the private lab created, and also the SNP that was transferred via the transfer in the database to the FBI.
Transfer of the database, so it's the same person. That's why I'm saying it's transferred from a lower tier to a higher tier database. Okay. So therefore, it's not two separate profiles. It's the same. It's why I didn't put out a video saying, because trust me, yesterday I was like, "There's two," and then I'm like, "No. We're gonna go into this on the next episode." It's why I wanted to go over it again today. I'm gonna rewind this whole part because this is very important here. In my personal opinion, I believe it's the same profile, just two different upgrades. How do you put it? What's the word? The same profile, just two. One is a lower tier, one's a higher tier because it was uploaded into a database that had more options, results, findings. You know what I'm saying? It's not too different. It's what's the right wording for that? We're going to listen to this part again. It was all very important. And thank you all for hanging out. Let me know in chat. I think it's, two different, but I think it was in the private lab. Then they transferred that through a transfer portal. They transferred that to the FBI database, which has way more options. And so that's why it's considered another one, but at the same time, it's the same person. The same person, two versions. Yes, the same person, two versions is what I'm thinking.
It appears that way. So let's get on the record, please. Okay, we are now on the record. This is State of Idaho versus Brian Koberger, case number CR 292220. Excuse me, 2805.
What's up, Sarah?
We're conducting this status conference over Zoom. There are people in the courtroom, but all counsel are participating on Zoom. Representing the state is Ms. Jennings, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Nye, and Ms. Beatty. Representing Mr. Koberger is Ms. Taylor, Ms. Massa, and I don't see Mr. Logston, so apparently he's not here. I believe that Mr. Koberger is also on Zoom. Is that right, Ms. Taylor?
Yes, enhanced.
He is. We're in the same room.
That's what I mean. Enhanced. That's a perfect word, Angel. Thank you. It's an enhanced version of the same profile. Right. There we go. Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me too yesterday when we were watching it, because we watched it yesterday, and at the end of the show, it was already taken so long to get to wait for the court hearing, and it caught me off guard. That's why I took notes of it, but I wanted to go through it again just to make sure. And last night I had a bunch of other stuff to do in the background for the show, so I was getting stuff ready for that, and I figured we'd just go over it this morning before we'd just discuss it more. Because with the verbiage does sound like there's two different ones, but when you listen to this part of the conversation up until where I paused it a minute ago and rewound it, it's there's, like what Angel said, it's an enhanced version. So there's not really,
You can't see him, but you can hear him, and he can hear you.
Think about it, because then wouldn't Ann Taylor be constantly requesting this other SNP profile? You know what I'm saying? She would be like asking for it just as much as she's asking for BK's. And when you're listening to this court hearing, you don't see her making a you don't see it make her making it a huge importance, because let's be honest, if there was two, one of them was BK's and one of them wasn't, and she had access to it because Bill Thompson states right here in the beginning she has access to both SNP profiles, wouldn't she be throwing a fit? It doesn't make sense that it's two separate ones. It makes sense that it's the same one. One's from an FBI lab, or one's from a private lab that was then transferred to an FBI lab, and then what Angel says, an enhanced version. That's why I wanted to go over it again this morning with you guys before I made it, because I was like, man, that'd be a good highlight. Nah, let's just wait and talk about it.
Okay, great. Okay, so you are downstairs right now.
I'm downstairs right now.
Okay, thank you. All right.
It's just like when a couple days ago, right before my show, I was like, holy shit, every document from 7/27/23 is gone. I made a highlight of it real quick. And then when I started my show, the documents popped up and I'm like, all right, I went back and I took that highlight down. And I was like, hey, it is what it is, you know?
All right, so this is a status conference.
It's gone.
Following the court's order addressing IGG DNA and an order for in-camera review. And when we were talking about this at the last hearing, the state wanted to sort of find out how quickly they could get some of this IGG
100%, Miley.
back to the court so I could review it. So
100.
start with you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, we met via Zoom or Teams or whatever you call it with the folks from the FBI on Monday, and we had shared with them already a copy of Your Honor's order, and we have now sent a 2E letter, which is the formal request process we have to go through. They indicated that they would try to see if it could be expedited. The 2E letter has to go all the way back to Department of Justice and route through its bureaucracy. We asked for, give us an estimation, and they said, well, it could take as long as a month. And so that's where we are right now. We're already in the process of making sure we've gathered everything from the private contract DNA company. So we'll have that ready to submit along with what we receive from the FBI once we get it.
Okay, and has it been specified in terms of what kinds of information they have and may be willing to provide?
We gave them a copy of Your Honor's order and said, and the 2E letter says, please provide all information that the court has directed in the attached order.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Let me go now to Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Judge. Your Honor, if I'm understanding Mr. Thompson correctly, the court should receive information from Optum Labs for the work that they did, probably ahead of the work that the FBI did. If reading between the lines, that's the private lab, and I think the state has more ready access to all of the Optum lab work and filings. So I guess where I'm at is I would still ask the court to set deadlines for each, and if they're to come in separate pairs or separate sets of information, that's okay. But I think the court could set deadlines for the Optum materials as well as the FBI materials, understanding that Mr. Thompson estimates at least 30 days. I do have some additional questions and requests for that process when the time's right.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Taylor. Yeah, I was going to go back to you, Mr. Thompson. Go ahead.
I think that it could be misleading to the court to only have partial information to work with, and be our preference that we make a complete submission all at once. Because Your Honor can't assess all of what's out there without seeing all of what's out there and seeing the interrelationship between it.
All right. Because the private lab and the FBI were sort of working together. Is that what?
No,
Listen to this
think,
answer.
As Mr. Nye described in his briefing on this, the work began with the private lab, and then there was a transfer to the private lab, from the private lab to the FBI, and there were also reports the private lab prepared preliminary reports that were sent to the Idaho State Police Laboratory, and they all address the same things and overlap. And
So they also sent notes to the Idaho State Police. Preliminary notes were sent to the FBI, and they were also sent to the Idaho State Police. Now that's interesting. That's interesting. That's something I didn't notice yesterday. That's something I didn't notice yesterday. So the private lab gave the preliminary reports to the FBI and the Idaho State Police. So and he just said right here they overlap each other. So does that mean that the notes that were sent to the FBI, which they claim they can't get, were also sent to the Idaho State Police, which they should be able to get? And if they overlap each other, well, then you get the documentation that the FBI received, not necessarily what they came up with, right? Did I hear that right? Let me rewind it a little bit more. I could have.
as Mr. Nye described in his briefing on this, the work began with the private lab.
What's up, Gemini?
And there was a transfer to the private lab, from the private lab to the FBI, and there were also reports the private lab prepared preliminary reports that were sent to the Idaho State Police Laboratory, and they all address.
Kimberly, who's getting angry about what? I don't even know what you're talking about. Miley and CJ? What are you? I don't even know what you're talking about. What's up, Typically? How you doing today? Who's getting angry? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't even think Miley, I don't think you're even getting angry. What? Sorry, Kimberly, I don't know what you're talking about.
The same things and overlap.
I don't know what she's talking about. I don't know. Who's getting upset? I have no idea. I don't think anybody's got upset in this. Who's getting upset? I don't think me or Miley have gotten upset, Kimberly. I'm sorry. When Bill is asked about them? I'm confused. I'm sorry. Right, Miley? I don't. Who's angry? I don't know. I don't know. Me and Miley are good. I don't know what's up. Anyway.
Perspective, because we've been trying to sort through this ourselves we're inviting confusion for the court if you don't have everything in front of you. If you're just trying to look at this piecemeal. I mean, we're happy to give it to you however your honor wants. It's just a heads up.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I didn't know. Yeah, sorry. I was going through the old comments and I was like, oh, Miley's upset. Wait, I'm upset? No. I didn't want anybody to think we were upset. Sorry.
If you're just trying to look at this piecemeal. I mean, we're happy to give it to you however your honor wants. It's just a heads up that your review before having everything is not going to be particularly productive.
All right. You want to respond to that, Ms. Taylor?
I do. Thank you. Your Honor, I would not expect a court to make decisions about Othram without having the full scope. It's just been a long road for us to get information. The court is aware after our third motion.
Yeah, sorry, Kim.
Response that we were going to get SNP profiles, and I know that the state waited until they had the FBI profiles available to get us the SNP from Othram. Your Honor, we will have further discussions later about that, but I think that there's missing information from the Othram profile that we have. I'm hoping the court gets it, and I certainly understand that the court needs to see everything to make a decision. My hope is that everything includes communication so that you can follow the path of what happened while you make your decision as well. I wouldn't expect you to release it or decide what portions would be released or what orders might apply until you see it all. I'm hoping that there will be some deadlines in place so that you can begin getting the information.
All right, thank you. My understanding is that that the private lab SNP profile was already provided to you. Is that right, Ms. Taylor?
Your Honor, I received in discovery a SNP profile, SNP profile that I believe came from Othram and one that came from the FBI. The Othram is not the FASTQ file, which is the general format that does come out in. It's a different kind of file, and it's a smaller data file than the FBI data file. And so I think that there's some issues with what we received from Othram. We have that. We have what the FBI file is, although it's missing a good percentage of information, and we'll be talking to the state about some of that later, but they've provided some things we think insufficient.
So she's saying they provided, she thinks, she says, they provided things insufficiently. And I know you guys are having a little bit of a hard time hearing that. I'm going to go back to her response again.
All right. You want to respond to that, Ms. Taylor?
I do. Thank you. Your Honor, I would not expect a court to make decisions about Othram without having the full scope. It's just been a long road for us to get information. The court is aware after our third motion to compel and the state's response that we were going to get SNP profiles, and I know that the state waited until they had the FBI profiles available to get us the SNP from Othram. Your Honor, we will have further discussions later about that, but I think that there's missing information from the Othram profile that we have. I'm hoping the court gets it, and I certainly understand that the court needs to see everything to make a decision. My hope is that everything includes communication so that you can follow the path of what happened while you make your decision as well. I wouldn't expect you to release it or decide what portions would be released or what orders might apply until you see it all. I'm hoping that there will be some deadlines in place so that you can begin getting the information.
All right, thank you. My understanding is that that the private lab SNP profile was already provided to you. Is that right, Ms. Taylor?
Your Honor, I received in discovery a SNP profile, SNP profile that I believe came from Othram and one that came from the FBI. The Othram is not the FASTQ Q file, which is the general format that those come out in. It's a different kind of file.
Different file, different format from the private lab.
And it's a smaller data file than the FBI data.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It's a smaller data file. Like Angel said, the FBI has an enhanced version. That's why there's two. They sent the FBI version and the private lab version of the same person.
And so I think that there's some issues with what we received from Othram. We have that. We have what the FBI file is, although it's missing a good percentage of information. And we'll be talking to the state about some of that later. But they've provided some things.
They provided some things.
We think insufficiently.
Insufficiently, which means they don't have the homework, which is why she's saying if you don't have this, which is what you created the profile off of, which is what got you to BK. When you look at like the document I read earlier in the beginning of the show with all the different possibilities, all the things that can go wrong, the Mark Carver case when it comes to touch DNA. So if you're getting an incomplete report, that obviously is missing information where she feels not even what they would even need to be able to defend their client. That's what I keep saying. It was probably a tip where they said, hey, this is just a little piece. It's not the whole muffin. This is just a little piece. And they were so down about that car in Oregon being a bust, they just started jumping. Listen to Ann Taylor again.
A SNP profile, SNP profile that I believe came from Othram and one that came from the FBI. The Othram is not the FASTQ file, which is the general format that those come out in. It's a different kind of file, and it's a smaller data file than the FBI data file. And so I think that there's some issues with what we received from Othram. We have that. We have what the FBI file is, although it's missing a good percentage of information. And we'll be talking to the state about some of that later. But they've provided some things. We think insufficient.
Okay. Obviously, I'm asking to look at all this because I can't make informed decisions if I don't. Is my understanding was maybe there was one SNP profile, but now I'm hearing that maybe there are two, one from the FBI and one from the private lab.
That's correct, Your Honor. And the difference is the one from the private lab.
Okay, the difference. Here we go. Thank you all for hanging out. Appreciate you.
Was maybe there was one SNP profile, but now I'm hearing that maybe there are two, one from the FBI and one from the private lab.
That's correct, Your Honor. And the difference is the one from the private lab is the initial profile that the private lab analyst created from the DNA, the portion of the DNA sample.
Right.
Then what was transferred to the FBI was after that original SNP had been uploaded to a database, access to the database was transferred. And it's our understanding that once a SNP is put into one of these databases, the database adjusts the SNP to fit what their criteria are for them to do their searches. So there are differences between the two, the entirety of the two SNPs. Mr. Nye, you're very knowledgeable on this. Jump in if I'm not stating it clearly. And so in an exercise of caution, we wanted to make sure the defense had both. Had what the original SNP the lab, private lab created it, and also the SNP was transferred via the transfer in the database to the FBI. We wanted to make sure that we weren't overlooking anything. The FBI saw, or the defense saw both of them. And we are told, we understand that, like I just said, the databases adopt the SNPs to their search components, and so they're going to look slightly different.
Okay, thank you. You want to add anything to that, Mr. Nye?
No, Your Honor, I thought that was very well said.
Okay, thank you. Well, we're all learning a lot about DNA, that's for sure. So, you know, I don't know that I have the capacity to really examine the information piecemeal. I would prefer to just look at it all at the same time because, I mean, maybe there are comparatives here, obviously. So what I'm going to do, and I know that, I mean, this is complicated too, and we've heard this already, just getting complete information from FBI, but apparently it's in process. I'm going to set a deadline for all the information to be provided to the court by December 1st. That should be sufficient time. If something comes up between now and then, I'm sure I'll hear from some of you or all of you. We can have another status conference if necessary. But I would really just want to push this out, or not out, but more quickly as possible, so that we can get to a lot of the issues that we really have to address as well. So, not that this isn't important. All right, so I think that's really all we need to address today, unless anybody else has some other issues. Mr. Thompson?
No, sir, and I will communicate that deadline to our
Aw,
contact.
thank you, Jen, for the super sticker, the little kitty that's, or a fox. I think it's a kitty that's giggling. Ha, 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 ha. Thank you for that. I appreciate you so much.
The FBI today.
What do you guys think about this?
If there's going to be some delay, we need to hear about it.
What do you think, Jen? What do you think, everybody? Do you think that it's going to be delayed again when it hits December 1st? I think it's going to be delayed until after the new year. I just see them saying, don't have it, don't have it, don't have it. You know? They've been doing it so long already. They're going to keep doing it, and then they got an easy out. They have an easy out. There's a higher agency that we can't get the documents from. So, what can the court say? What can the court say? What can the court say? Other than, okay, they're going to let it get delayed a couple times because they have to try, right? They got to give it time. But how much time can the court give? That's why I say I see it getting delayed till the beginning of February. And then after that, then they're going to be like, all right, well, we're not going to be able to get the information. So I guess we're just going to have to continue to go on, right? You know what I'm saying? They're going to give it a couple times, give it time to see what happens. And then after a few delays, then they're going to have to go, you know what? The court has to move. The court has to move. I mean, that's... As soon as I heard December 1, that's when I'm like, yep, this thing's getting delayed till after the new year.
As sooner than later.
That's just me, though.
Have a good
Thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate the kitty. Ha ha ha.
Anything else, Ms. Taylor?
Yes, Your Honor, two things. Your Honor, I am going to request that the court make a privilege log of what the court receives in this packet of information the court's going to review. I will want that to be released to me to make sure the court has a full packet of information to review in making its decision. The other area that I want to talk about is what does in camera mean? This is really complicated, and I would like to know how the court is going to learn about these things. If the court has to consult with anybody, I want to make sure that there's not going to be an FBI agent in the room with the court or anything like that to try to do the in-camera review to make heads or tails of what this stuff means.
Well, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. A lot of what I'm reading and learning from is all the information that both sides have submitted to me or telling me in these hearings. So that's I'm not pulling information from outside of that because that's not on the record. I suppose if I have to bring somebody in to help me understand this, you will know that. Both sides will know that. Another way to look at this is I could have another hearing and you all can help me understand this if that's necessary. I think I have a fundamental understanding about all of this, and that's I think expressed in the order. But I understand this is complicated stuff and it's somewhat controversial. So
Yeah, you can tell he just does not understand. He just doesn't understand, and it's no fault of his own. And I think that it is good that they're involved because in any of these cases, that's why I'm saying I think they saw this thing and they're like, "Whoa, hot potato." That is one of the reasons why I think they went to the house a couple days ago to, do that, 3D scan thing or whatever. Was because it's like, you know what? It's really starting to crumble a little bit here. Just my opinion. Really starting to crumble a little bit here. We need to, make sure we get whatever we need. For sure.
I will do my best. That's the best I can do.
And there was a new document yesterday, but it's just for Creme 2 News for media access. That's it.
All right. Anything else then?
No, I'm not
Here's
sure
the link
what
for it if you want it.
by a privilege law. It seems to me to defeat the purpose of the in-camera review if the court tells the defense everything that it received. I mean, that seems contrary. So I don't know what's being contemplated there. We're going to give you everything we get. And if the court has questions, the court can ask those questions however it feels it needs to. If the court wants to bring in outside help to understand in the way of an expert or something, we don't have a problem with that. We want the court to be able to make an independent decision on this, taking into account and considering the concerns that we have expressed through our briefing argument and understanding the court's interest in ensuring the defense has access to what it legally would be entitled to and that appropriate protections are put in place on sensitive or personal or private information as the court deems appropriate so that third parties are not injured by what is occurring.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thompson. I interpreted that as that the state needs to document everything that they're getting just in case, so that if there is an issue down the line, that is documented. that doesn't necessarily mean that you turn that over to the defense automatically. So I don't know if Ms. Taylor suggested that, you provide all that information to Ms. Taylor before I make a decision in camera. You want to clarify that, Ms. Taylor?
Yes, thank you. Your Honor, what I am hoping that the court will do is just create a list or a log of what the court receives, not the detail of the content, but things like the raw data SNP profile from Othram, the communications between Othram and the FBI, not the content, just that you have those. The statistical analysis that happened within the profiles when making decisions, when the genealogist made decisions about the family tree, that you have the statistical analysis, that you have the bioinformatics or the microarray.
Yeah, and if you're just joining, go back to the beginning of today's episode where I did a read through talking about this stuff with the DNA. Here's the link for the article. How DNA, how accurate is DNA evidence? You'll definitely want to read it. I did go through it at the beginning of the show, and it's talking about exactly everything that she's been asking for and wants.
Array, that you have access to those things. That's it. That's what I'm thinking that the court would do, is make a list of those kinds of things received. The court should also include that the FBI complied with requirements in my family tree. Those kinds of things, not copies of them. That's what the court's looking at in camera and making decisions for. And I certainly understand the need for information to be protected. During the course of this case, I've signed orders agreeing things are held in a protected way so they're not used without further order of the court. I certainly understand that need, and that's one of the things that I think the court may get to with this. But the privilege log isn't the content, just a list of the things that you've been able to review to make a decision about.
All right. Well,
That's why she's at chain of custody. What do you think she's talking about in this court hearing? The chain of custody. If there's a piece of evidence, is there not a chain of custody? And when it comes to you not getting the chain of custody as part of this discovery, why are you not getting the chain of custody? That's why what she said in the beginning of this court hearing, they were insufficiently not provided the proper documentation. Where's the chain of custody? There's no chain of custody. There's no, records. There's no, did the people that handled the evidence, what's their records? Have they been in trouble for mishandling evidence? Have they been in trouble for contamination? Have they been in, I totally understand why she wants to know that information, because when you go through the article that I just posted in chat, or you listen to the read through that I did at the beginning of the episode, it's very damn important. Very damn important when it comes to how it's handled, how it's transferred, how it's tested, everything. Mark Carver case. Highlight about it. Read through those documents from the Exoneration Project. Mark Carver. These things can happen. Why can't you have the chain of custody? Why can't you have who handled the evidence? Why can't you have the work history records of any kind of disciplinary actions based off of work performance? especially when it comes to handling DNA. It's so important. And I don't understand why it's 10 months, 11 months later now. And we're still waiting for it.
That may happen. I'm not.
Always Devil Dog.
It's hard for me to make decisions in the abstract. So, you know, I'm going to see what I receive, what I get, and then I'm sure that the state is going to document all of that, and then I'll make a decision about what is disclosed. I mean, that's the reason for the in-camera review, but I do think that it's appropriate for you to understand exactly what was provided, even if you might not get to see it. But I just don't know what that is. So I'm not gonna, you know, bind myself yet. Okay, until I see what I get and when I get it. And that goes with, you know, if I need to bring somebody in to, you know, an independent DNA scientist, then, you know, you will get to know that. But I'm assuming that you are all very educated about this already, so maybe I don't need to do that. We'll see. All right, but if this can be provided sooner than December 1, that would be fantastic.
Yes, sir, and that would be our intention. As soon as we have everything that is out there, our intention to put together and submit it to the court and have kind of a list of table of contents or index, whatever you want to call it, of everything that's being provided to the court. I will say, listening to Ms. Taylor's recitation of all sorts of specific types of stuff, that based on our understanding, there are items that she thinks ought to be there that do not exist in the way of documentation form in any fashion. We will give you everything that we are provided with, and we have asked for everything that exists, both from the private lab and from the FBI, and that's our intention. But I don't think that the lawyers ought to get into this guessing game of what should and shouldn't be there, particularly since it is our position defense has a fundamental misunderstanding of the difference between SNP profiles and traditional DNA comparisons and how that process works. When we start talking with statistics and those sorts of things, those don't necessarily apply in the investigative genealogy world. So I don't want there to be any false expectations, and I certainly don't want the court to be misled that things of relevance exist that do not.
Well, I understand that issue to some degree because I've been reading your briefs back and forth. So I understand that that is a repeated kind of issue, and I think, excuse me,
Yeah, it does, right, Miley?
Taylor, but they want to be able to
Yep,
see
Brian Etten right
what
there.
has not been documented. So so that's one of the issues that there's going to be a struggle about, and I understand that the process, the procedures of some of these IGG procedures are not documented.
He sounds so
There might be
confused.
some notes. I understand that the FBI has some notes. So let's start where we know we have things, and then we can go from there.
Yes, sir. And that's how we prefer to proceed. I was just reacting to the laundry list of things that Ms. Taylor was reciting that, based on what our experts have told us, don't necessarily exist in an investigative genealogy SNP analysis. They may exist in a traditional STR DNA analysis. And those are two separate and distinct processes. They do not overlap at all. So we want to make sure that there's no confusion, because some of the things that have been submitted by the defense don't accurately talk about the distinction. And that's why Mr. Nye in our filings submitted the affidavit from Ms. Nolan at the Idaho State Lab talking about the distinction, the difference between two separate approaches to DNA. I just don't want to muddy the waters. I don't want there to be false expectations created.
I
We
understand.
provide, as always, everything that we get, everything that we can find, everything that's provided to us, we provide to the court for its review.
Thank you. And I understand it. They're very different. Okay, I mean, I think that's really clear in the order addressing IGG DNA. I also understand that the state and the defense have different lists. So I will look at it and
He's so confused. That
muddle
sucks.
through it as best I can.
That's
But
not.
I do understand the difference. And the reason why IGG DNA profiles aren't the same, okay, as our more traditional DNA profiles that law enforcement use and courts have been used for years.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Sure.
I want to respond to the accusations that we're misleading the court and that we're trying to muddy the waters.
I didn't take it that way.
This is about the third time that these kind of pokes are happening at the defense, and we haven't responded to it. And Your Honor, I just want to respond that the information that I talked to you about, this laundry list, as Mr. Thompson says, a lot of that comes from expectations based on reading Department of Justice policy that was included for the court with our briefing before the August 18th hearing.
Right.
A lot of that information comes from the testimony of the two genetic genealogist experts that we put on and the information that they provided to the court at the hearing. These aren't made up things. We absolutely understand that the genetic genealogy investigative process is different than what the Idaho State Police Lab does with STR profiles. But there's analysis that happens along the way in building out these family trees to identify somebody. That was talked about in depth. We are not trying to mislead the court. We have been absolutely clear, and we've relied on Department of Justice policy.
He's confused.
And our expectations. So I just wanted to make a record of that.
You know, like sit down for like 6-10 hours on a weekend, watch some of these DNA shows that some of us, watch CC Moore, watch, that's all the stuff that we're watching. You can definitely get informed when it comes to this stuff. He doesn't seem informed at all, which is no fault of his own, but I mean, things are changing and you got to kind of keep up a little bit too.
Okay, Your Honor, I'm not suggesting that they were intentionally trying to mislead the court. It's our position that they have been provided with information that's not accurate and it's creating false expectations. And I don't want the court to be misled by that and to have expectations that are not accurate. That's
Right. He doesn't want the court to feel that he needs to provide the homework.
That's all.
That's all.
Okay. Thank you both.
That's all. Because I'm not going to do it,
I
right?
Really try
That's why it's going to
hard
keep
not
getting
get
delayed.
Misleading information and then rely on it. So I will be very careful about this. This is really important, and it is, well, as I said in the order, this is a first impression in Idaho, and I want to make sure that we do it right the first time. That is exactly why I requested some information, the IGG DNA information, so that I could go through that and understand it better and make an informed decision for what should go to the defense and what maybe shouldn't. I can't make a decision about So, but I appreciate the separate positions that you both have, and we'll, like I said, do our best. So if something comes up between now and December 1st, as I said, you can ask for another scheduling conference or a status conference like this so that we can kind of iron out the wrinkles if there are any. Particularly if we find out from FBI that it's going to be, much longer period of time before we get it. Now, I sure hope that doesn't happen. So we'll see. It sounds like they're working at it. So that's reassuring to some degree.
I will be speaking with them this afternoon, Your Honor, to let them know and impress on them. I think they understand that this is time sensitive and we would like to see it happen sooner than not. My impression is they did not.
Yeah, he's going to let them understand. He's going to let them understand this is time sensitive, everybody. We need that homework that we haven't really been asking for. We just have to say that we're asking for it. That way it satisfies the court, because we're not going to give it anyway because we're not going to use it. And that's what we've been stating the whole time.
Speaking with them this afternoon, Your Honor, to let them know and impress on them. I think they understand that this is time sensitive and we would like to see it happen sooner than not. My impression is they did not want to underestimate what the amount of time might be, and that's why we're looking at an initial ETA of up to a month.
Okay, great. All right. With that, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Ms. Taylor?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay.
He doesn't want the court to be confused either. Doesn't want the court to be confused either. What's up, Kevin? We're just ended the show. But we'll be back tonight. We'll be doing Late Night and True Crime, where we not only talk about this, but we talk about some of these other cases. So it's going to be about a whole bunch of different cases. We'll be talking Delphi, some new cases, some old cases, current cases, Idaho, everything. We'll be back tonight. I'll be putting out a notification in a little bit. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out today. I appreciate you. We'll see you later tonight. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. This case and these hearings, they're just going to keep getting delayed.